Okay. All right. Adam, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. It was my AirPods. All right. You're good.
Okay, perfect. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for making time to stop and to try to work through this with us and allow me the opportunity to work with you guys. I know ministry never stops, especially in care, and you've got a lot of different ways that you're ministering to people, and so Doug reached out to me the other week and was like, "Hey, I think it would be helpful if we could just." I know you did the big training with everyone, but it was like drinking from a water hose. So if we could focus in more on kind of the area of ministry that we do and how we serve people, maybe we can find some best practices. And again, like I don't think there's a general rule of thumb that applies to every situation. I think you guys kind of have to work with us and see what works well, and then give us feedback on what doesn't. So if I don't, there's multiple people in here. So if you need to interrupt me at any point, feel free to chime in or throw your hand up and I'll do my best to see it. But um I think why don't we start with requisitions? I want to talk through that very briefly. I want to show you guys what it looks like. Um, and then we'll talk through some other things like, um, you know, providing food and benevolence for people. I really want to hit that. I want to hit benevolence and like when there might be instances for virtual cards, but I really want it to be whatever's most beneficial to y'all. And then we can always reconvene if we need to. So let me share my screen really quick. Can everybody see? We good? You see Coupa on here? Cool. We're going to run through, I'm going to run through some test scenarios for you guys, what I think will be helpful for you. Um, and then again, if you have questions, feel free to throw it in the chat or just stop me. But when me and Doug talked the other week, I was telling him I think one thing that could help, one instance that could help a lot with requisitions is in instances when you guys are doing counts, like you're meeting with members or congregation members and you're recommending them for professional counseling. I know a lot of times Gateway will offer to pay for a certain number of sessions, whether that be 4 sessions or 5 sessions or whatever. Um, it may be different, but um, cool, cool. Um, I want to show you because typically, I think right now what happens a lot of times is you guys recommend the member go get counseling. They kind of maybe notify you. Tell me if I'm wrong, Doug. I'll look at you, but you can tell me if I'm wrong. Um, they'll notify the care pastor which counselor they'd like to do business with or like they'd like to go to sessions with. And then you kind of wait for that counselor to invoice you after the member goes to the sessions. Is that correct? Isn't that usually how we do things?
Yeah, I mean, it can work in various different ways, but ultimately, best practice would be we send three options. The member selects which one, and then and then from there we work on billing or invoicing the
Sure.
counselor.
Yeah. So the goal would be, because a lot of times you guys are kind of the middleman, like you're getting the invoices from the counselor, then you're forwarding it to accounting, and then we're trying to get them paid. It can just be a long process. I will say this, let me say this outright. There is this process for sure with requisitions, pre-approvals. It is a requires a little work on the front end. It just does. There's no way around it. Um, but I would just ask if you'll be open-minded. The thought is if you do the work on the front end of getting the vendor, the counselor, whoever set up for payment on the front end, kind of helping walk them through that, which our team is more than happy to help anyone walk through getting set up, then you can kind of put in the requisition on the front end. And then really from then on, you can just kind of sit back and let it run its course. Um, so let me give you an example. I'm in our test environment and I created an example. So let's say hypothetically, one of our care pastors met with a member and recommended, hey, I think you should go see a counselor. We're going to say that I am said counselor. And so they selected to do sessions with me. The way our staff could do this is you could go to what we call a write-in. This is the most manual way to do it, but it allows the most freedom for our staff. But you could go to not sure, let us guide you. And it's what we call a write-in request. So down here at the bottom, it says write-in request. So you would click on that. And let's say um, Gateway's going to pay, let's say counseling, we're going to do 5 counseling sessions for Joseph Tenney because he needs it. I love Joseph. Okay. So in the supplier, if we have done business with this counselor before outside of a credit card, now if we've only ever paid them by a credit card, they're probably not in here. But if we have paid them before by a bank transfer or a check or anything like that, they in the last 3 to 4 years, they're going to be in Coupa. And so you can just search their name. So for this one, we're going to use mine. So Adams Counseling. I also have some Frisbees. Commodity is the one thing we're going to add. What it allows is it's going to allow at the end of the year, leadership, Pastor Doug, lead team, whoever, to really find everything that got kind of lumped. It's kind of grouping, it's holding places for all of our expenses for the church. So for instance, counseling. So we have the commodity counseling. So everything that gets put to counseling, it allows in about 10 seconds, it would allow us at the end of the year to say, how much money did we spend on counseling? And our leadership could actually, Pastor Doug or whoever could actually pull a report. You could see how much money we requested to spend for counseling, and we could see how much money we actually spent on counseling. I'm putting the request in, asking for enough funds to cover if Joseph wants to get 5 sessions. But maybe Joseph only gets 3. But it would allow us to know, like, hey, this is how much money we sent in for him if he had gotten all 5. And how much he actually did. So we're going to say Gateway's going to cover 5 sessions. Services, you can do services or goods. Most instances for counseling, it's going to be services. Unit price, I'm going to put the amount. Now, I am guessing here. You guys probably all know this better than me. So bear with me. But I'm going to say something like $500 a session. So I'm just going to throw something out there. Melody just shook her head like no chance.
Listen, Adam comes at a price. And so
That's right. Listen, we go deep, and it ain't cheap.
it's
So
about 150-ish.
okay. We can do that. That's fine. Let's make it more realistic for us. So let's say like 150 a session. So that would be, hang on, watch me do my math real quick. So 750. So I'm going to put in for 750. So we're offering to pay for 5 sessions. There's a spot here for attachments. If you wanted to attach like a quote or something from the counselor, you could do that if you've already negotiated that. If not, that's okay. But you're just going to add it to cart. And then you're going to go right up here, and you could do multiple. If we wanted to, you could do, let's say you had a list. Some of our amazing coordinators, Erica does about 15 at a time. And so if she had to, she could do multiple and keep building that cart, and she could do 2, 3, 4, whatever, and then go into her cart when she's ready. I'm going to do just one. This is where you're building coding for us on the front end. Hang on, I see a question. Oh, it's just a laugh. I'm good with that. But you're building your coding on the front end. And so by default, it's going to default to your campus and your department. So for instance, because I'm in finance, it's defaulting to the finance department. If I needed to change that, I could, but it's going to default. Justification, you can put notes here, whatever notes you want that your oversight to see, or accounting, like this would come, I would be able to see these notes. So you could say, Gateway's covering 5 sessions of counseling. Or Joseph. Okay. Again, you can attach anything you need to here. Here's one thing you could do. You can attach a text and send it to the supplier. So, for instance, because we're picking Adam's counseling, my email, this is going to generate an email to me. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. This is going to send an email, but you could say in here, Adam, will you invoice us? I don't know what details you'd want to add, but Adam, will you invoice us for each session? Okay, come on, Joseph schedules. And I hit send to supplier. And all that's going to do is when this goes, it's going to add this note to the email of the counselor. Okay. This is your requisition. You've got 750 again. Here's your coding if you needed to change it for whatever reason. I think I actually do need to change it. Now in production, it should go straight to benevolence for everyone. So it should be your campus. It'll be your department. And then it should go straight to benevolence. But if you needed to change it, this is where you could do that. So in test, it was not set up correctly, but it will be in the actual production for you guys. Okay. It's going to go to my oversight for approval. This is what everything does. Everything goes to one level to your oversight for approval, unless, again, it breaks the threshold or it was a large amount that had to go above that. So it would go to Lori. So I just hit submit for approval. Now, I have admin access, so you guys won't be able to do this, but I'm going to go act as Lori just so you can see it from her side. And sitting in Lori's queue right now is purchase approval for Adam Wright for justification gateways covering 5 sessions of counseling for Joseph. So it's here right now for 750. Lori can click into it. She can review it. She can see the note, any of that, but she hits approve. And that has just sent an email to me as the counselor. There is a new purchase order for Gateway Church. So every counselor, if we set them up as a supplier, would get this email no matter what. What's great is they don't have to, I'm going to say this, they can do business with us. They don't have to have a Coupa account to do business with us. Let me show you. It's going to give me 2 options. It says Gateway Church. There's a purchase order. I'll show you the other one just so you can see it as well. It says, hi, Adam. This is to inform you that Gateway Church would like to do business with you. Here's what it's for, $750 for 5 counseling sessions for Joseph. Now, as the supplier, I have 2 options. Now, this isn't my first one. My first one was down here, but I can create an invoice right off the email immediately. So if the counselor wanted to, they could go create an invoice right here. It's going to ask, if they don't have an account, it's going to ask for a one-time password. So they would just hit that, which it will send me another email right here. There's my password. Okay. It's asking for how I want to get paid. I have mine. I didn't put in my bank info for this, and so it's going to mail me a check. I can create an invoice number right here, which I recommend teaching our counselors, our suppliers, to make it match whatever requisition number you put in. So I'm acting as Lori. That's why. For the record, Coupa does not like, it's not going to like the fact that I'm in Coupa and I'm in the Coupa supplier portal as the supplier. It's not going to like that I'm doing those at the same time. So I'm going to have to do one at a time. But I think essentially you could tie this number to exactly what that requisition number was. But the supplier can make it whatever they need to make it. They can attach a invoice. Now I said down here, this is for 5 sessions. But I I asked the supplier to only invoice us for one. So they could put in the description, this is session 1 of 5 for Joseph. And then 150. Does that make sense?
Adam, that does make sense. Let me ask this. So it looks like they would have to know to change the description, and enter that amount and everything.
Yeah, they don't. So the truth is, they don't have to, but it would be best practice if they did. This is where where I do think, again, on the front end, there's some training of our suppliers, our counselors on this. There's some work that we have to do kind of hand in hand with them. Again, my team, our team, accounting team, we are more than happy to help them do this. And so we can teach them. It's kind of that thing, you teach them on the front end, and once you teach them a couple times, once or twice how to do this, they kind of pick it up and know to do it. And again, if I wanted to, I could invoice for the full all 5 sessions. I think you guys are going to want to do it a session at a time because you don't know that the congregation member is going to go to all 5. So that's just my thought. But
And just to clarify here, because it might be a question y'all are thinking of, is you could invoice, of course, session by session, but
mhm.
or send a requisition session by session, but the benefit of this would be, oh, I've approved, 4 sessions is what we typically approve, or 5 sessions in this case. I've approved 5 sessions. And if once the counselor knows how to use the system, they just go back, and each time they sit with that person, they invoice it out of this same place. And so it creates less work on your end, if that makes sense. And Adam, you can describe that in a better way, I'm sure. But
Yeah, exactly what you said. It's kind of the value of you get to create the requisition one time. I'm showing you guys what it would look like if they just did it through the email, assuming they don't have an account. If they actually take the time, again, it probably takes about 30 minutes to set up a Coupa account, and it's free. It does not cost the counselor anything to set it up. If they take time to set that up, it's actually even easier, which I'll show you in just a second. Let me submit this one first. So I hit submit. It's going to say you're about to invoice Gateway Church for this amount. Once you send, you'll have to contact your customer directly. Hang on, let me do one other thing. The counselor can actually put comments down here. So they can tag us. You see that? They can tag me in this comment. Here's the bill for session 1. And add a comment. And when I go back to the other side as Gateway staff, you'll be able to see this comment on there. So this allows you to communicate back and forth. It can notify you. You have settings in your Coupa that says, tell me when somebody mentions me in a comment. And that can be for staff or for suppliers. So let's say I'm going to submit this for now. So as the counselor, I just sent the bill for the 150. And it shows me as the counselor. So this is kind of what, if I'm signed in, if they have a portal, this is what it looks like. They can see the invoice. They can see the status of what it's pending approval right now. They can see what the original order was for how many sessions it was for. They can see all that. Unanswered comments, a dispute reason. If I as the staff member were to come back and say, hey, this is the wrong amount, we're not paying this, it would tell them that here. So it kind of just allows them, again, it takes some work on our front end, and I can understand, and we don't have to do it. There is some value in taking that 30 minutes to set up a free account that the counselor then can see everything that's happening. They can see when this gets turned into a payment and when it's in progress. And so it kind of takes some of those questions off of you guys, for them to have this information. So, okay, let me close out of this. I'm going to come back over. Again, Coupa does not like me being in both at the same time. So it's going to do that. I'm going to close it again.
Hey, Adam, this is Jamie Dixon. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, Jamie.
Hello, hello. Okay,
Hey,
if that counselor tags me in the comment, like, am I receiving a copy of the invoice? Because I know that's always security for me. I keep
sure.
track of what session people are on and how much we've paid and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can kind of do it. I mean, this is where, guys, there can be flexibility with this. And I understand you want to be copied on the invoice. Um, because you made the original request, because it came from you, when it comes back, the invoice would come straight to accounting. So it would come to me. I'm going to show you in just a second, but it would come back in and it would come straight to accounting and invoices. Um, Here, let me. That was my request. I want to find the invoice though. Okay, right here. You see it says invoice approval for Adams Counseling. So this has already created, because I did the requisition. The invoice is already in the system. It's ready to go. All it needs is my approval, because I'm the one who put it in as the requester. It's waiting on my approval. All I have to do is hit approve for payment. If for some reason the payment didn't look right, the amount looked wrong, I have the option to reject it. Um, I also have the option to make edits. I have the option to make edits. You guys don't, but you can reject it or approve it. If you reject it, you'll put a comment on it. If you look, there's the comment from the counselor, from me, when I put here's the bill for session one. So again, you could talk back to the supplier from right here. You could put in comments and talk right back to them.
Yeah, that would be helpful in the case, especially as counselors get used to utilizing this, the ones that will.
Yeah.
If they all of a sudden say, "Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and invoice for the whole 750," you
Mm-hmm.
you get to catch it before it happens.
Yeah. So see, it says add comment to supplier. It allows me to talk back to the person. Um, which the way it would do that is it would send them an email. So you would hit this and then it would send an email to them, telling them that you've added a comment. But again, you can reject it. There's another option that accounting can dispute it. So if you guys were to tell us to, like, if you didn't catch it here, let's say you approved it, and then you were like, oh, actually, I wanted to go back and look at, oh, it's not right. You could tell us. And from accounting, I can dispute it. I can push it back to the supplier and say, hey, I need you to change the amount for this reason. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I
So,
have a quick question too. Just so with this, so say we're we whether we're vetting new counselors or we have, counselors we're using right now that say starting next week we start offering these sessions and we start this process. Do y'all have like a step-by-step thing we can email a counselor and say, hey, here's our payment, here's the steps you need to take for payment, like something put together that we as a care could send that out, just letting them know how to do it and what our steps are. Does that make sense?
yeah, we don't have something,
Since we're not experts yet on it,
Sure,
I
no,
just didn't
absolutely.
know because I don't know if I can help someone right now.
Absolutely. Listen, and here's
We
my
don't bombard
complete,
y'all.
no, but here's my complete honesty. Um, if I have a critique of Coupa, it's getting a supplier set up on the front end. And the issue is not that it's complicated, it's that because Coupa is international, it's an international organization, the language they use is confusing for people, especially when you're dealing with a smaller business, a US, like just smaller business, and it starts talking about regional tax identification and stuff like that. They're like, what are you talking about? And so we don't have anything specific to counselors yet. I would love to get Samantha Wadey, who manages our suppliers, all of our vendors for us, to make something a little more niche for you guys.
It might even be,
Could we do it? I mean, could
Adam,
we?
I was going to say it might even be you know, creating like a little, screen recording of like what a counselor would do or something like that. Um,
Sure.
uh, Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, because even if we took some screenshots and like said step one,
Yeah.
3, and what they would need to probably plug in,
Yeah.
just to kind of step by step. I just didn't know if there was something like that, or we could maybe create it on our end to just
Yeah.
tell them, here you go, here's the instructions.
I
And
think the biggest thing y'all can do to help us is, again, we are more than willing to, anybody who says, I've had multiple suppliers that have said, where a staff member said, Adam, will you just take 30 minutes and help set them up? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm willing to do that. We're willing to do that. But I do think there's a grace of, if you guys can help us and be kind of that middleman, hey, we're going to help get you set up hey, and it's really all you're doing is kind of showing them, hey, we did everything manually through email. We're going to do all that. We're just doing it inside of this system. So you're sending your invoice through the system. We're sending our request to you through the system. So kind of helping them navigate that. I do think there's value in that. So, okay. So the last step for you guys really would be, again, there's a way to add comments to the supplier. I'm not gonna do that right now. You would hit approve. And when you hit approve on this button, their status, this invoice is going to send out for payment. So it's going to be, I pay out 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just depending on when you hit approve on this, it will get caught in the next payment cycle. But that would really be it. And then, like Doug said, let me show you this very quickly, and then I want to take questions and then look at some other things for you guys. But, so that one's approved. You see here's some other ones I did, some other invoices that are pending approval. But as the supplier, I'm going to go back to manage order. I'm going to have to get out of Coupa. It's not going to like that. Okay. Create invoice. But like Doug said, because you sent in the one requisition for multiple sessions, I can keep creating. I really want to do this though. Let me do it this way. I want to show you the value of the supplier portal.
Yeah, I was going to ask if they have the portal, they can probably go back to that portal each time, right?
Yeah. By the way, they get
have-
sent an email. So as soon as you approve it for payment, invoice 150 has been approved to pay by Gateway Church. So like they're getting communicated with the whole time, which is really nice. I know I want to go back to. I want to go back to the other order. It's fine. I'm trying to get to that. I bet I don't think it likes that I have multiple open, but okay. No. Sorry, y'all. I'm learning as a vendor. I'm doing this in the wrong spot. That's what I wanted. Okay. So again, because we send in multiples, I could tell it. There we go. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so this is what if they have a portal, this is what it looks like. So Adams Counseling, I have a portal set up. I can go to invoices and I can see all my invoices and payments. And if I need, and so because I did that, let's say I did that 150 off that purchase order, I can hit create another invoice. 5 sessions for Joseph Tenney, 750. I can hit create another one. This requires nothing from our staff. The supplier, the counselor, let's say session 2 comes in. All right, now I can do another one. And I can put, this is for session 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it allows them, again, now the amount has gone down because I already did the 750. It was 750, but because I've done one invoice, it's now lowered. So they could do, this is session 2 of 5, Joseph Tenney. You know what I'm saying? And then they could go 150 again. And every time they do that, that's going to continue to lower, but they can continue to invoice one after the other, after the other, after the other as sessions happen. And let's say a session doesn't happen. It's just an email. It's just sitting out there. They can close it if they wanted to. Does that make sense? So let's say the person only does 3 or 4 sessions. The supplier, at that point, the counselor can go, okay, they're not doing any more sessions. I can actually go in and close this order.
Adam, out of curiosity, do we have the ability? I know we can always message them. We can see what invoices are still sitting out there. That as far as like, oh, they've used, 150 of the 600. What we don't know, is when a client has just decided I'm not going anymore, right? And after about, I don't know, a few months or whatever, are we able to close that out ourselves, or can we even put a time frame on it? Like this is good for 3 months, and once we reach 3 months, it closes itself out. The money gets the money just isn't spent. But
yeah, the truth is there's no issue from Gateway side. There's no issue with a requisition sitting with a supplier. It's just a requisition. It's just a request. We're not paying anything. The church is losing no money until they actually send the invoice and you actually approve it. But if you wanted to put, again, notes in there where you communicate or you comment to the supplier and say, hey, we're going to pay up till this date. After this date, we can close out that order. We're not going to be filling any more sessions for that. And again, there is no limit to the number of requisitions you guys could create. So you can kind of manage, you can make as many as you need. You can set the limit, the timer with the vendor, the counselor. Hey, after this date, we'll go ahead and close this off. And then if we need you, we'll send another one.
Another quick question is, thinking about the invoice number and everything, obviously they're going to be putting in notes, and everything has to inform them, one, who it's for, and that we're approving it for this person. And then they're of course putting in notes like Joseph Tenney has received 1 session, whatever. I'm trying to recall right now, and care staff, y'all help me out here. But one of the things I immediately think of is privacy. And I think, okay, so when we're paying for people anyway, when we've said, okay, we're covering the cost of that, the 2 videos together, and then maybe tell us what question you're answering again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more time, Pastor.
In other words, Doug is holding you to your answer.
Absolutely. No. So for emergency situations, those weekend moments, like you describe a POC and you need to do ministry. Absolutely. You guys are still empowered to do that. This is more of the things that we can plan ahead for. These are the things that we can be strategic for and think ahead, and then we want to do that because the truth is, up to this point, we have always relied on our credit cards very heavily. I'm like 85-90% of our purchases were always done on a credit card, and as much as we plan to be really good about getting our expense reports in and knowing what we've spent our money on, ministry happens. It gets hard to keep up with that. So. We are usually approving expenses 6 months later. And so that's not the way we want to do things. But yes, absolutely. It's why you still have a credit card. We gave it to you for those moments, those instances where, hey, you need to do ministry and you need to buy something quickly. That's what it's there for.
Great. So, great. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? I do want to show you, I know we spent a lot of time on requisitions. Again, I think that could be really good for counselors specifically. I just think, and if you think there's a vendor that you pay on a regular occurrence, paying them in some way through Coupa is probably the best way to go. It just allows us to get in a rhythm of paying them and in a pay cycle where we can pay out every week, which is great. And we have record of it, it keeps us accountable for what our spending is and what we're spending on. I do want to speak to really quickly. I know meals, probably when I think about care, I think about a lot of counseling sessions. I think about a lot of meals, feeding people, and then some benevolence, paying some bills for people. Those are kind of the big, if I had to put it in big buckets, I know it's a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more, but I want to show you about Easy Cater. If you've never used Easy Cater, I do want to show it as an option. I know right now, typically what we do is if we want to feed somebody, we swipe a credit card on DoorDash and we send them a DoorDash gift card, which is not terrible. So don't hear me say that. Like that's not a bad thing. I think there's times where that's great. Again, you just have to then get a receipt, go back and take the time to fill out the expense report. Easy Cater is kind of like a built-in DoorDash if you've never used it. So it's reading off my location right now that Easy Cater has 310 different restaurants in South Lake that you can order from. And I mean, there's Great Harvest in here. There's McAllister's in here. There's different things, Corner Bakery. But you could basically place an order from any of these restaurants for delivery, and it would deliver a meal to someone. And it would operate just like our Amazon Punch Out, where you put it in, they hit approve, and then it places the order and it goes to their doorstep. Again, it saves you the time of having to make an expense report later. I'm not saying in every instance it's the best play, but I do think there are times where we can place orders for people to send food to them, and it doesn't have to be a DoorDash. It could go through this as well. So feedback on that, thoughts on that?
Yeah, so one thing that I was going to just chime in on with that, guys, is that this would be like an instance where you want to get a meal to them. They've been in the hospital, whatever, and maybe you're not concerned that it get to them. Is my mic sounding funny? Is
That sounds fine to me.
Okay, sorry, I've got my phone going and the thing going in case it disconnects on me. But basically, like, they can wait a day or so. You just want to get them some food. Well, then
Schedule a meal for, recovery or whatever.
Yeah, you can utilize this. I think one of the vendors we use, there's, gosh, guys, what's it called? Like
Front Porch Pantry.
Front Porch Pantry, which I already looked in here, I believe, for that and didn't find it because they're like
Okay.
and as well as like a Spoonful of Comfort is one that some have used. And so I don't know if there obviously is a way to add them in or whatever, but that's odd.
Yeah. So Easy Cater is their own company and they have their own contracts that they build out. We can't necessarily convince them to do business with another company, I wish we could. I wish we could just chime in and be like, hey, Spoonful of Comfort, put them on there. But what we could do, again, Spoonful of Comfort, you could add them in as a supplier. You could just do a new supplier request form, get them added, and then do a write-in request for Spoonful of Comfort. It would go much like the counselor, just send them an email. Hey, we want to place this order with you. And then they invoice me. But I know, like right now, we do it on a credit card. That works too. So again, there is flexibility with this for you guys to decide kind of what is the best route in each instance.
So Adam, I'm going to jump back for a moment, and you may have answered it. I don't know where I actually lost you guys. I was actually asking a question, and then it like went away on me. But thinking about privacy when it comes to when we invoice when we're paying for counseling, and we invoice that, y'all already see who it's for, all of that usually anyway, right?
I will say this, like, we don't have to know any details or anything, but yeah, we typically, when you guys invoice on stuff, it typically says like who the counseling's for. And from an audit standpoint, it is better that they know it's like a congregation member. Like that's what the expenses are going towards. It's caring for a congregation member. So
okay, no, that's good. And the reason I'm asking is because thinking about that invoice portal, probably what would be beneficial, especially for some of our counselors. I'm thinking about like Jennifer Strassner, who might be seeing 5 or 6 staff, for instance, at a time. Rather than it just being the invoice number, maybe the invoice number and a last name, so they can differentiate between like the different invoice numbers and who it's for. Might be a good suggestion for the counselor when they're building that out.
Yeah.
So might be something we could even put in the note. You know, I was thinking if the encouragement is for the invoice number to be the same as the requisition
Purchase
number or
order.
whatever,
Yeah.
the purchase order, then in the notes where Adam was entering the notes, like, hey, these are for, you know, what we could put, here's your invoice number, and last name, you know.
I think that's great. Whatever is clean for, I mean, you guys know, whatever's clean for the counselor to keep track of and for you guys to be aware of, so you know who it's for, then I think that's great. Noelle asked a question about being able to see budget. Yes, Noelle, I am working as fast as I can. Our elders just approved, we've had a moving budget for 6 months. And so our elders just approved our budget last week. And we had to get it all in Limelight first, which I think everything that would affect you guys is in there. There's 1 or 2 small departments that we still have to add, but it's the gateway budget is in Limelight. The next step, which we will do this week, is now take it out of Limelight and make it feed Coupa, so that you guys can see when you're making a purchase or a requisition even. You know, again, that was part of the value, was that when you put the requisition in, even before the money's left the building, you can see how that affects your budget, so that you know right where you're at and have a live budget, which that's the goal. So we will get that done quickly for you.
I had a question real
Yep.
quick. Just want to make sure I'm understanding totally. So this is mainly for counselor billing, what we're going over today. And just to go back to benevolence. So as you know, we have a lot of people coming in, and we pay directly to their, like, say for their rent to an apartment complex. And we're still using our credit cards for that. That's usually the first, because that's a lot easier and quicker. If not, we do the check request through you guys. Do we just still keep doing that as normal, or do we need to get pre-approval or anything like that, or just are we okay on that area is what I'm saying? Like, if there's been any problems with it we've been doing this year, because that's how we've been moving.
Sure.
You just let us know, because we want to do it right and do it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just adding to that is like thinking about that, right? Most, you know, the mortgage everything's going to be different every time.
Electric bill, Atmos Energy, you know, there's someone different constantly and different. And so we just want to make sure we're still doing business as usual, but just going through using our new credit cards and all of that.
Yeah. I really, when we can, I do prefer the benevolence process, the check. I do want to ask, because Allie, you know, from Allie's perspective, she feels like the process is working fine. It's the same thing it was before. It's just inside of Coupa, but it's where you set up a benevolence vendor just like you had before, and then you put in for a benevolence request for a check, exactly like how we've always done it. Both of those things are inside of Coupa. Let me get out of this and I'll show you in production. But I want to hear from you guys, from your side. Do you feel like that is working okay? Because Allie's under the impression that it is, but if it's not working well, so we have, for each of you, you should all have this. You should have a benevolence section down here. Create a benevolence supplier and create a benevolence invoice.
Erica, do you want to kind of speak to that? I saw you shaking your head yes.
I was just saying it works for us, because like they said, there's so many different vendors that we have to deal with through benevolence process, and it changes. It's a rapidly changing thing. Not everyone has the same company, etc. So it is working if it works for y'all.
That's what we want to make sure. We're just making sure we're lining up with you guys. If this is not causing, because right now we're in a flow and it seems to be working good. The same thing with gift cards, right? Like the digital gift cards. I do have a question with that too. And making sure nothing's changed, but I saw in 2 different places. And so I just want to confirm. So the most we can give a member in digital gift cards, say to Walmart per year, I saw where it was $5.99, but then I saw another location where it was $4.99. So I just want to make sure there hasn't been any changes, or just if you could speak into that.
When you say per year, Crystal, are you talking about our minimums and maximums?
Yeah, for gift card. I read somewhere that it was
No.
$5.99 per year. So like,
I mean,
if
that may be
give
something
them a
that's
gift
just set
card.
up in Coupa or something, but our care amounts are the same. So like, I think that we've said,
Okay.
for non-members, 250.
Right.
And then, members, it's just,
Is it $5.99 or $4.99?
There's no, and guys, help me out here. That just floats within their benevolence amounts, right? So if they've received 500 in benevolence, whether it's a gift card that they received or whatever, that just applies to that, their 3,500 or does that make sense?
Right.
We heard from the impression that there is a gift card maximum as well. Because the other day we
Yes.
were saying we don't remember what it is, but we had heard it was 600.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
confirming, because I saw somewhere else where it was $4.99. And so, no, what I'm asking is, I understand that it's per member, it's 3,500, right? But what we've been told is the most we could say, we could pay $1,000 rent payment, we could pay, $800 car payment, but all we could do, say for a Walmart gift card, the max we could do was $5.99.
There used to be, I remember back in the day, if the $5.99 thing came from, if we gave them 600 or greater, there was a tax implication to
Yeah.
them.
Correct.
What
Right.
that was. But I have a question about that, because I was also told, or I saw something recently where there was a lifetime gift card limit for everybody of $250. Is that not a thing? Because that's what we've kind of been
For
going on.
non-members, that's for non-members.
Well, what I remember reading was that was across the board for everybody. So I guess that's not a thing.
That we were told for non-members. So that's why
Well,
that'd be just
hey, guys,
clarity.
this particular question is one we could maybe hit or talk about during our
Okay.
our all care, as far as what our maximums and stuff are. Now the
I was
question
just making
about,
sure with a tax thing.
yeah,
Like,
with the
that's
tax thing,
Adam.
that's a good question.
Maybe Adam had insight into that.
I do have a question about
Adam, if you were talking, I don't think we're hearing you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me? Good. Okay. What Tracy said is correct. It's if you give someone more than $600, it's considered taxable income, and so then the IRS then is going to tax them on that. So that's where that limit is.
But that's not just related to, I mean, is that pretty much any, is that related specifically to gift cards? Is that, what all does that apply to?
No, period. If you receive what they consider income, so gift cards get treated like cash. And so if you receive in a given year more than $600 from an organization, then you are to be taxed on that as income. And so that's why if we were to give them more than $600, they have to report that to the IRS, and the IRS takes tax out of that.
So this was really, thank you, Adam, because that's what I was wanting to know, because where we run into sometimes a bump is if we have helped like a mama or somebody a lot, because they need Walmart gift cards or whatever, but we also have back to school and Christmas, and that's kind of separate, and they're getting extra gift cards from that too. They really got like $1,200 for the year. Say we gave them the $599 and then they got $500. And so it may be we could put a pin in it, but just to keep up, that maybe this will help us in Coupa too, to keep up, to make sure, because if not, from what you're saying, they're going to get taxed on that extra they got from back to school and from, if we keep up with that. But I don't think we document that, do we? It's just a giveaway for back to school and that, but.
Most of those like events are like giveaways that they do, but unless it's coming from us, like, through care process. Hallie, you were asking something?
We had a question about purchasing gift cards. I don't know if we're gonna get to that or if now's the right time, Adam.
I'm here for whatever you guys need until y'all got to go. So you tell me what you need.
Okay, so I talked to Daniel a few weeks ago, that we needed to repurchase bulk physical gift cards, and he told me to hold off, that in a week or two there would be a way to do that through Coupa. I don't know if that's a thing yet, or if we should just go ahead and buy gift cards the way we have been, because we're running low.
Yeah. Let me check with him. Daniel is the master of Coupa. I mean, he built this thing. So that's why I say if something helps you, that was me. If something's terrible, that was him. So you can blame him. But no, he's brilliant, and he is trying to constantly add features into Coupa to help you guys. So let me follow up with him on that for you. But I'll find out. If it's not something we're going to roll out really quickly, then we'll let you guys go ahead and just buy more.
Any other thoughts, questions, grievances?
I have a question. So when we request a check for benevolence through Coupa, we are so hard and heavy watching our budget this year. So I've got another spreadsheet. I'm tracking everything. And so how do I go back in Coupa and find?
Great question, Tracy. Love that.
We requested one in December, and I didn't see it in Coupa until almost mid-January. So if we requested in January, I'm not seeing yet.
Yeah.
So where is that?
So for everyone, this is universal. The top right corner where your name is, if you'll go here and click on activity, everything you've ever touched in Coupa will be on this page forever. It will never go away. Now, what you may have to do is change. You see this view button right here? You may have to change your view to all. And you have to recognize, what is it you're looking for? Requisitions? Is it an order, like a purchase order? Is it so virtual cards are here. Invoice? Anything that is tied to you. It could be tied to you because of forms. You got forms over here. So probably a lot of your benevolence forms are probably going to be under forms, or it's going to be under requisitions. It's going to be under one of these two. I can't remember off the top of my head. Forgive me for that. But if you go in here, I promise you, there's nothing you touch in Coupa, by whether somebody comments you and names you, you approve something, you request something, everything you touch, if you go to this activity page, it will be in here. Okay? So you should be able to find it through here. You just may have to do a little digging. And again, if you can't find something specific, let me know and I'll help you find it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Any other questions from the team? Any other thoughts, questions? Adam, if you don't mind unsharing the screen for a moment.
Absolutely.
Since I'm not hearing any questions come through. So guys, listen, let me do this real quick. Adam, we are so appreciative of you taking the time to do this, and
of course.
Just helping us get a lot more specific and fine tuning things, and like you said, it's going to be kind of a journey of making it work and getting in that groove. And we know not all of our counselors are going to want to utilize that system, right? But I think that requesting and figuring out who's willing to work within it would be a benefit. And I think even helping them understand how, especially if they set a profile up, how it really benefits them in the long run, because they don't have to wait to invoice things. They don't have to wait for you to get your credit card and pay for the sessions or anything like that, so that's a benefit as well. But also making sure, once again, when it blanked out, I don't know what all y'all touched on, but that you're using Amazon on there. No, one of the big things is we don't need to be using an Amazon account outside of Coupa, things like that. I think that there's still, I don't know if it fits within care, but I think that there's still a lot of expenses taking place in Amazon outside of Coupa, and so things like that are things we can fix now. And Adam, any thoughts about around to that or anything?
No, again, I think one, just hear us. We're adding options because for each thing there is something that's the best. You know, some things a requisition is going to be the best. Some things your credit card's going to be the best. But from a tracking standpoint for our church, from a stewardship standpoint, the more we can be in Coupa, put the things in that you can through Coupa, get the codings done there. Man, it really will, in the long run, it will save our organization time, and it will help our leadership make really good decisions with our finances. So just thank you for being flexible, and know that I don't want anyone to ever be afraid of like, well, I need to do ministry, but I don't want to do the wrong thing. We are a team. And so anything that you need, you can reach out to us, or if you say, hey, I don't feel like this is working well, we want that feedback. Your homepage has a place for you to give feedback. And so, or message us directly. Hey, I don't think this is working well. Okay, great. Then we will do everything we can to fine tune it and make it